Okay, so I thought you might have some questions about gen ed competencies, and I think I actually told Claudia wrong. I just wasn't thinking when she had reached out to me. But if you copied the site, which I hope you guys did, I put them in. Which one am I in? Okay. I put them in at the top. They're just grayed out. So I think in 111 we're just doing, I just had checked, we're just doing general education competencies. And I think even if we're doing student learning outcomes, we had decided, which I know for 111 we are not, but if we are doing it for 112 or 211, that they were the same. So you're still using these two activities. And if you copy the site, I had embedded them actually in Moodle, so you didn't have to worry about, if they were in my language labs or not. So I think SAM 140, one of them is January the 13th, and the other one is January the 27th. So on the 13th, if you scroll down, you'll find SAM 144. And if you scroll down to the 27th, there you're going to find oral dialogue 1, which was SAM 120. So I went in once to my grade. You can either go into the assignment, which I think for 120, because I give feedback and there's videos, that might be a hard way to do it. But you could go into either the assignment and look at your grades and do like a print screen here, or you could go into your actual grade book and find the activity and do a print screen there, or at least that's how I like to do it. So here's my, I could get over to oral dialogue 1, and I can just do, a print screen of that. So I have it. So what I did is I did a print screen, and then I stuck them in a document, and I went ahead and put, that these are my grades for SAM 144, these are my grades for 120, and then I even went into that gen competency so I knew which one I was measuring for. So for SAM 144, that's the one that you're using to show that students can demonstrate knowledge of diverse cultural perspectives. And SAM 120 is the one that you're showing that students, to show if students can or cannot demonstrate written and oral communication skills. So I just stuck all that in a Word document. I didn't even save it, which you'll probably see some other stuff pop up since I didn't do it that way. So anyway, so then I'm going to click on this exit outcome. I think it takes you to the same place because when I click here, it shows exit outcomes and it says general education competencies, and it tells you right here there's none that we're assessing for 111. And so then the next thing we've got to do is start entering our data. The data I have is for my FJB06. So I think you just hit, this is the demonstrate written and oral communication skills. So that's the SAM 120. So I'm going to hit enter data, and then I need to put in the measurement tool. So I would probably put SAM 120, or I might want to call it something a little more what it was. So I think, where did I say SAM 120 was in January 27th. So I might actually want to call it this. And I'm just going to copy that. And I like to stick stuff in Notepad first. It kind of gets rid of gobbledygook and hyperlinks. So I'm going to copy that and go back out here and stick this here. That's what I'm using. And then it says total number of students participating in the assessment. So then I would just pull up my document here and count how many students I have that are participating. I'll pause so you don't have to watch me count all. Okay, so I counted 18 people. So then I would go back out here and put 18. Number that were considered exemplary. I'm just going to say, well, let me go back and look. So we have exemplary, satisfactory, below average, and unsatisfactory. So I'm probably going to say students that are considered exemplary or any that have an A. Satisfactory would be B's and C's. And then 60 and below, I would consider, well, wait a minute. So I would probably do anyone that had like an A here, B's and C's here, D's here, and unsatisfactory would be my F's. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and count that. I can put the screens like this so I can see them at the same time. So again, I'm just going to go through and count so you can see. I'm just going to go through and all of my A's, I'm going to stick right here. So let's see how many of those are. I counted 900, so I'm gonna put a 9 right here. Number that were considered satisfactory. Whoops, I gotta add one more. Let me double check. Yeah. So I did have 10 that were exemplary. Considered satisfactory, I would say B's and C's. I don't have, it doesn't look like I have any, which is kind of odd. So I'm gonna put 0. And then number that are considered below average are my D's. So I'm going to put in my 60s here. So let me count those again. I just see 2. And then number considered unsatisfactory would be all of my F's. So the zeros and the 20s. So let me count those. And then you just want to make sure that your numbers match up, and they do. And then what have you discovered through the analysis of the data? Hold on, let me get rid of my email since it keeps popping up. Sorry about that. What have you discovered through the analysis of this data? Do you especially adjunct instructors have any suggestions for improvement in student learning based on the analysis of this assessment? So then we just put in our thoughts on it. And let me think for a minute. Okay, was actually putting in the wrong data. Be careful of that. I was actually putting in the data for the second one. So I went back and looked. I needed to be adding in this data. And what I had are 16 students that participated, 15 had A's, 1 had a B, and nobody had was below average, and nobody was unsatisfactory. So then what do I think? I think they're doing pretty well. So I would say for this one that there doesn't need to be any improvement. But if you have different scores, then you might want to make some suggestions. For mine, I think what helps, this was an early one, so everybody was probably doing their best. But I also think I use those workshops, so I have them give me a script of what they want to say, and then I go through and clean it up. So if they follow what I told them to say, and they actually ask me for some advice regarding how to pronounce words they didn't know, then I think that they perform fairly well. So that's stuff that I would write in here. Okay, so some of the things I put is that, I think the students performed well. I think that's because we assigned it early in the semester and because we workshopped the assignment, that I have students turn in a script of what they plan to say and give them advice before, they complete the recording. And I said something that might help because I know that their scores are decent, but I'm sure there were some issues in the beginning. I always have people have issues with recordings, and I give them multiple opportunities to do the recording. So whatever support we can give to them to explain to them like how to actually do a recording, and giving them multiple means to make the recording. Like I let mine use VidGrid. I explain to them that they could use Vocaroo. I tell them that they can use some other recording device and show them how they can embed it in the assignment. I show them how they can use YouTube. So I think the more options we give them to make these recordings will help them be more successful with this assignment. Okay, so then I just hit save for that one. And then I move on to the other one, and I forgot what the date is, so I'll have to count again. So this was the demonstrate, hopefully I'm doing it in the right place. Okay, yeah, so then I need to do the demonstrate knowledge of diverse cultural perspective. So I'm going to hit enter data here, and then I'm going to look at this set of data, which I remember there were 18 people, and that's about all I remember. So let me add in my data. Again, my exemplary students are going to be my A students over here. And then I remember that I didn't have, or maybe I had one, no, I had 0 that were satisfactory, and I had my below averages are my 60s. I do think that I only had 2 of those, and number of students considered unsatisfactory were all my 0s and my 20s and 40s. So let me count. Okay, so my data was 18 people. There were 10 that were exemplary, 0 that were considered satisfactory, which would have been B's and C's. I didn't have any B's and C's. Number of students considered below average was 2, and number of students considered unsatisfactory, those that failed, were 6. Again, I need to get the title of that one. This was January 27th. So if I go up to the 13th, That's where I told you this assignment is. It's right here. I'm just gonna, whoops. I just want to take that. If it'll let me. Doesn't want to let me. Hold on. There it is. So I'm just going to copy that right there. And I'm going to stick it right here. And then what have I discovered through the analysis? I'm going to go back in and look at this one again. I want to preview this one because I don't remember. So this was where we were watching a video. The transcripts have been given. It says select the names of the places you hear in the video. This is the video that they have to watch. I'm not sure why they failed. Maybe because it was early in the semester. So maybe if I take some more time and explain that you have to put them in order. I think that some of them put the right places, but they just didn't put them in order. So I might say, I could improve upon this assignment by making sure the students know they need to list the Spanish speaking places in order they hear them. I could improve upon their scores by making sure they see the transcripts that accompany the video and how to turn on the closed caption feature. Okay, that's all that I could think about here, is that they can watch the video, but then I posted the transcript, so I need to maybe point out that they need to see the transcripts and that when they open the video, to discuss with them how, you need to click on the closed captions and put on the Spanish ones, and then just mention that it needs to go in the order that you hear them, because I feel like some people just didn't put them in the right order. And that's all that I could think of. But again, you can put whatever you want there, whatever you saw. Maybe your students did perfectly and you have nothing, no advice to give. But anyway, so you save it, and then you can see out here that I've entered, that's what it should look like. I've entered the data for that. And so I only did this for level 111, but if you go into, I don't think any of you guys are doing 211, but if you go into a 112 class, the same thing again. I've put it in here, so just look through the site to figure out which where those assignments are, but they should be in embedded in Moodle. Hold on, maybe I can really quickly tell you what week they're in. Okay, so it's probably a good thing that I did go look for them. So the two assignments that you have in 112, again, I put them up here. We have SAM 441 and SAM 615. And like with the 111s, if you copy the class, you should already have them in there. SAM 441 is in week 130. So if you scroll down to week, where are we? Okay, I lied, 120. So if you scroll down to week 120, there you'll find Al ver el video Club Cultural Guatemala Los Mayas. That's SAM 441. And the other one is in 46. It's Oral Dialogue 3. So if you go all the way down to April the 6th, you should see it right here. Here's Oral Dialogue 3. And so again, those are the two assignments. You're just going to want to look at the scores that your students had. And when you open this up, this again, we're not dealing with student learning outcomes this time. So you'll just plug in each of those assignments for their Gen Ed. Where are we? We're going to plug them in for their Gen Ed competencies. So demonstrates written and oral communication. So the demonstrates written and oral communication skills, that is going to be the activity that's in 4.6, oral dialogue 3. Where'd it go? And then 441 is the one that demonstrates diverse cultural perspectives. So you'll do the same thing again, where you click enter the data, then you talk about what you think you could do, what things you could change with the assignment to get students to perform better. So hopefully that helps explain how to do the exit outcomes or the gen ed competencies.